Hello everyone. In this video I'm going to discuss about the rest terms of Saussure, and then we will discuss about Levi Strauss and move on to Barthes. Now in the previous video I have discussed the specific terms of Saussure like sign, signifier and signifier. In this video we are going to discuss about syntagmatic, paradigmatic and synchronic study and diachronic study. So Saussure, apart from the concept of sign, is also associated with terms like syntagmatic and paradigmatic study and synchronic study and diachronic study. So what is synchronic study? Synchronic study of language simply means taking at a snapshot of the language at a specific moment in time and analyzing its properties. So synchronic study is simply nothing but the study of the present use of the language at a specific context or at a specific time, and then the synchronic study analyze its properties and some features. So diachronic study on the other hand is completely opposite of synchronic study. Diachronic study of language means to look at the changes in a language over time. So diachronic study looks at the history of changing meaning of a particular language. And the next term is syntagmatic relationship. Now what is syntagmatic relationship? Syntagmatic relationship hints at the study of some sequential words or elements in a sentence that contribute to the meaning of the whole sentence. So syntagmatic relationship is the relationship that is present between the words that form or contribute to the meaning of a sentence, or it can be said that through an example, or it described can through a example. Let's take an example of a sentence: I will eat. Now in this sentence the three words I, will and eat from a meaningful sentence, and the relationship that exists between the three words become the study of syntagmatic relationship. And paradigmatic study is simply something different from syntagmatic study. Paradigmatic study hints at the substitution of each word or element in a particular sentence. Now, paradigmatic relationship simply says or signifies that each word or element in a particular sentence can be replaced or can be substituted by some similar words or meanings or elements. Just I have said the sentence that I will eat. In this sentence the word will can be replaced or substituted by similar words with shall and might. So I can say I shall eat instead of I will eat. So here the study of substitution becomes the study of paradigmatic relationship that exists between the different elements in a particular sentence. Now move on to the next critic, that is Levi Strauss. Now Levi Strauss was the first structuralist to see the potency of Saussure's work in his study of anthropology. We all know that Claude Levi Strauss is a anthropologist critic. So what Levi Strauss did is simply that he took the idea of Saussure and put it in his interpretation of myths. Now, as we all know that Saussure is a Swiss linguist who propounded his concepts in applying it in the field of linguistics. But here Levi Strauss applied it in the field of myths. He suggested that the individual narrative of a myth becomes parallel. That the individual tale from a cycle of myths did not have a separate or inherent meaning, but it could be understood easily by considering its position in the whole cycle, and that's the lang. Therefore, what he does is simply that he took the idea of structuralism as posited by Saussure and then applied in the field of myths by seeing the similarities and the differences between one particular mythic tale and with others in the sequence or in a particular system. Now, Levi Strauss is also associated with some fundamental concepts of structuralism. One of them is binary opposition. Now, what is binary opposition? Binary opposition is nothing but a pair of two opposite words. For example, we can cite that culture is something that is always considered as opposite to something as nature. And similarly, we can say that female is considered as opposite of male, and there are various examples like that. So if you want to know it better in a elaborate manner, then just refer to my previous videos. I have made a particular separate video on binary opposition. You can watch that. So the next term that sociology is mostly associated with is bricolage. The term or the word bricolage is derived from the French bricolier, which means a person or a modern person who makes use of available materials that are not designed for that purpose. Point it. He makes use of some materials, but that those materials are not designed for that purpose. So a modern person, in his course of making something innovative or something totally unique, he makes use of something that comes in his hand easily and makes something great or something unique, totally different from the previous ones that he has made. So now next move on to the next idea. Now Levi Strauss describes that the nature of mythic thought is associated with the so-called primitive society. We don't find the mythic tales in a modern society. Mythic tale is something that can be found in the primitive society or in the earlier ages. Right, so mythic narratives, Levi Strauss argued, were assembled in a kind of intellectual bricolage from the existing stories and other available scraps on a given culture. So how these mythic narratives are formed? Levi Strauss argues that they are, collected in a process of intellectual bricolage, and this mythic story is formed from the previous or existing stories and other available materials that came handy or that was in use on that particular context. So Strauss is also associated with the concept of my theme. Just remember the term my theme. It is very important from the NET perspective. Various questions have been asked from this term. So it denotes the minimal unit of narrative sense and is formed on the analogy of morpheme. Now, what is morpheme? Morpheme, as we know, that in is a linguistics term, and in linguistics, morpheme is simply the smallest unit of grammatical sense. So through the use of a particular grammatical sense, we often express our mind. Similarly, in the narrative story or in a particular narration, we can say that the minimal unit that denotes a signify or that can convey a small meaning can be termed as my theme. Now the next critic is Ronald Barthes. Barthes applied the structuralist method to the field of modern culture, just as Levi Strauss did it in the field of in the field of myths or in the field of anthropology. So here is a picture of Ronald Barthes. Barthes examined the modern ferns of the 1950s from the standpoint of a cultural anthropologist in his little book Mythologies. The book was published in 1957. Another notable book by Barthes is S/J that was published in 1970. Now S/J is a book of somewhat around 200 pages, and the book analyzes just 30-page short story Saracen As you can see that the story Saracen is about 30 pages, but when Barthes analyzes the story, he makes the analyzing around 200 pages. So that's a vast book. And now next move on to the next idea. Barthes' method of analysis is to divide the story into the units of meaning. In order to analyze a particular story or particular novel, what Barthes does is simply that he divide the text into different kind of units, which he then classifies using 5 codes. So through these 5 codes, he analyzed any particular novel or story. Now these 5 codes are very important from the net perspective. Don't forget to point these codes. So the first code is, it is the logic of action, and the name of the code is pro-idiotic code. So through the use of the code, the story writer or the novelist often means a particular action or particular event. Just I have given a particular example that the ship sailed at midnight. So through this sentence, we simply say that we simply mean some action, that the ship has sailed away. The next code is hermeneutic codes. Now what is hermeneutic code? Through the use of these codes, the author provides some enigmas which lead to narrative suspense. Suppose in a story or in a novel, it is described that the hero has returned after a long time. So this sentence can be cited as something that evokes the narrative suspense, as we will be curious by reading this sentence that what he has done in his absence, right? So the next term is cultural code. Now what is cultural code? Cultural code provides a body of knowledge of some certain culture. So through this code, the author provides glimpses of a particular culture. It can be some ritualistic customs or anything that can convey some particular culture. Now the next code is semicode. What is semicode? It is also known as connotative code. Now this semicode is linked to the theme of the novel or story or theme of the narrative. And the next and the last and the final term is code is symbolic code. Symbolic code is linked to the theme but on a larger scale, as it consists of contrast and pairings related to the most basic binary polarities. As we have studied the binary opposition, so now symbolic code simply comprises of these binary polarities. Now Barthes is also associated with terms like readerly and writerly text, and he used these 2 terms in his book A/Z. Now readerly text is a text with close ending where there is little possibility of interpretations, and therefore the reader can remain passive. On the other hand, writerly text is a non-conclusive text where is a greater possibility of interpretations on the part of the reader. So here the reader becomes active in analyzing the text from a different perspective. Now readerly text can be described as something that is totally elusive, or that ending is totally elusive. There is no particular hints of the ending. So therefore we can assume any meaning, or we can ascribe any meaning to the text. Example can be cited as Waiting for Godot is a modern drama where the ending is often we see that the ending is elusive. Now, the another works of Barthes that falls in his structuralist analysis is the essay Analyzing Native Structures. Just remember the name of the text. Then next, move on to the other critics. Now, these three critics, Jonathan Fuller, Terence Hawkes, and David Lodge, are also associated with the field of structuralism. You don't have to deep digger in these critics. You just need to remember the names of the works that they have written. Jonathan Fuller has written Structuralist Poetics that was published in 1975, and similarly Terence Hawkes also wrote Structuralism and Semiotics that was published in 1977, and David Lodge has written a work named Working with Structuralism that was published in 1980. So that's all. I hope that you have pointed out all